All right, you made it back here to the Gill Athletics Connections podcast. And all good things must come to an end. But don't fret, don't worry. By end, I mean season 6. I think if I've calculated this correctly, this is going to be the last episode for 2025. So, all good relays need to have a good anchor, and I think we got a pretty good anchor here today. I can't wait to get into that. Real quick, for our new listeners, we're gaining new listeners every single day, and I'm so grateful for that. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mike Cunningham. I am the National Business Development Manager here for Gill Athletics, and most people know me as the podcast guy. Some people call me the podfather of track and field podcasts. So humbled for those who call me that. That's amazing. And some people just know me as the Twitter guy. So always can find me over on Twitter at Mike Cunningham. And I'm such a bad host. So I need to do this. Maybe this works. I don't know. If you enjoy this show, can you do me a favor? It really does help kind of with the algorithms and stuff. Can you rate and review? Like on Apple, you can do like up to 5 stars. Hopefully I've given you enough content here that's more than a 3-star, but we'll see. And then a review and all that kind of stuff. And honestly, all that to me is secondary. If you really want to help out the show and you want to help amplify these amazing men and women who choose to be track and field coaches, share. Go find your favorite episode. Maybe it's going to be this one, and share it with your Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, whatever you crazy kids are using today, and just share your favorite episode. That to me is way better than a rate and a review, but of course appreciate all of that. So let's get into it. Let's end 2025 with a bang. Guess what? We will be back here in 2026. We've got season 7 upcoming and got some great things in store for you. And I'm excited. And I'm excited about today's guest. Help me welcome from Sprint Free Training. I got to find out what that means. I don't even know what that means. Help me welcome the wise, the wonderful Mr. Bradley Moon. Bradley, how are you, sir?
Mike, I'm good, brother. Thank you so much for having me. It's been long overdue, brother. So I'm glad that we're finally getting to connect and do this. So I'm excited to be here and to learn and just to share just a lot of different things. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I appreciate your patience. People reach out, quote unquote, all the time about being on the show. And, the goal is kind of like Pokemon to catch them all. I want every coach on the show. But I only get this format, the long format, 52 times a year. So there's only 52 of those episodes.
Yeah.
But I put everybody who reaches out, I put on the list. Unfortunately, that list is now 100 plus deep. So if you reached out today, at best, it's 2 years before you get on the show. Now that's a good and bad problem, right?
Yeah,
It's good. I got guaranteed content. Like I got two more, at least 2 more years, guys. You
at
got to
least
put up
two
with this
more
podcast. Yeah,
years.
at least.
It's
The bad part is some guys get a little like, hey, I thought you forgot about. He's like, no, dude, I didn't forget about you, man. Trust me, you're on the list.
it's so funny. So like when you reached out to me and I totally forgot. I was like, oh yeah, you know what? I did reach out to Mike like a while ago. And then I'm like, sure. Yeah, the timing's good. I was like, I totally forgot. I was like, I'll figure out to get on there. But so
Yeah. Well,
that's
I
great.
love that you weren't just at home mad at me. Like that dude still hasn't got back. I appreciate that it actually was kind of a secondary thought for you after a while. That actually makes me feel better because I don't want to disappoint people. So I really hate that someone is like, sitting at home going, well, when's Mike calling? When's the call? When's the call? That guy, he's not really putting me on no list. And it's like, no, I promise you that's the problem. I put everybody on the list. So the list gets
No,
long.
the
Now,
timing's perfect.
that's a good segue about getting more people on the show. So, 52 a year on the long form. The past couple of years, I've done like a special episodes throughout the year to help get more people on. So, like 2 years ago, went out and interviewed a high school coach from every state
Okay.
to talk about their outdoor state meet. So there was 50, actually 51 because of Washington D.C. That was 51 extra people to get on the show. That was almost like a year's worth, right? And this past year, 2025, so earlier this spring, I think podcast and media for track and field are important. So I went out and reached out to as many track and field podcasts that I could find, and all the ones that came back to me, we did a 15-ish minute, about their show. Like,
Okay.
what's your show about? Why should people listen to your show? And how'd you start your show? Things like that. So there was, probably about 15 to 20 extra people. But what I started this year to really hopefully help with this is, I believe, Bradley, that every coach has something to share, whether it's your very first day of practice
Sure.
ever.
Mhm.
Or you are, close to retirement. I think you have value to bring. Everybody has different kinds of value, right? I might not listen to career advice from that person whose first day is this year,
Absolutely.
right? But I think how that person got into coaching or the things that they're excited about. I think that has value. So we started earlier this year the Gill 1918 project.
Okay.
And so what that is, same podcast, so same channel you're listening to here, not on YouTube and not on Twitch, but on the podcast, audio only, on Tuesday through Sunday. If we have the content, we publish 10 to 30-minute episodes. So much smaller, a little easier
Okay.
to listen to. This is a hard podcast to listen to, right?
Yeah.
You're on the you're 5 minutes into the journey of at least an hour and a half. I
At
guarantee
least
it.
an hour and
I
a half.
know
We
my
got.
guy and I are going. We're banging this out for an hour and a half. I got a meeting, so we can't go past 2. But this one I feel like is going to be a rich and deep one, and I love that because your journey deserves that. That's why I don't put a cap on an hour or something like that. But Gill 1918 project, 10 to 30-minute episodes, billing it as like the TED Talks of track and field. So no subject is off topic, is off base. We've had people come on and talk about how to coach high jumpers better, how to organize cross country practices better, X's and O's
Sure.
type of things, super valuable. We've had this is one of my favorite ones. Dave Emiott from Kentwood up in Michigan came on and talked about how to recruit kids to your team, like your high school coach.
Mm.
Like I was just in Tampa emceeing a clinic and was talking to a coach from Ocala. This is amazing. I think he said 5-ish years ago. Don't quote me on the time, but not
Okay.
long. 5-ish years ago, he started joined the Ocala program they had 15 kids. Today, 200.
Holy.
I believe healthy things grow. That's amazing.
That's
Now,
awesome.
what's interesting is, so like what I challenged him is to create a Gill 1918 project podcast is coming into 15 and having 200, things had to change.
Mm.
Staffing, how you coach kids, how you staggered practices. That's important for you aren't going to go to a track clinic and hear that. You're not. You should, but you're not.
Sure, but you're not. Yeah.
This is the place, Gill 1918 project, to do it. So if you're interested, if you're listening, and Bradley, you should be doing this too. If you have something on your mind that you want to share, so maybe you have a killer tweet, but it's only 180 characters or whatever, and you can expound that for 10 to 30 minutes. Please reach out. I'll give you the instructions on how to do it, and we publish them all every Tuesday through Sunday. And right now, every Tuesday, we're so blessed for Charles Oliver, Coach O, powered by Coach O. Every Tuesday, he has someone that speaks and has been doing dietitian, culture, biomechanics. I mean, just amazing content. All right, the commercial's over. Let's get to today's guest, Bradley, my man. Okay, so somewhere, assuming that you're an athlete, and here's what's cool, man. I'm just talking today. Here's what's cool.
Those spidey senses are rolling,
bro.
those
I'm just going. I'm
spidey
going.
senses.
Well, because I always say it's interesting. I always say, hey, assuming you're an athlete, and we know what assuming does, because this will be episode 340 something today, right?
Sure.
We've certainly learned that plenty of really, really good coaches were not athletes themselves, high school or college. So
Sure.
I don't want there ever to be like this thought of this prereq of like, oh, I didn't run track, or I did, but I wasn't very good. By the way, that's my story. Wasn't very good. So I can't coach. I wasn't a great athlete like X, Y, and Z. I was just reminded of this. I was emceeing the Tampa Bay from the University of South Florida, and I got to introduce one of my favorite people, Vince Anderson. You know the name
Yep,
Vince
I know
Anderson?
Vince.
Yeah, he's not bad, right?
No,
He's
no.
coached a couple of world champions and
Oh yeah,
Olympians and things like
he's
that,
got all the credentials.
and never did track. In fact, was a architect by education. Like went to school to become an architect, was a track fan, but never
Mm-hmm.
did track. Went to schools to be an architect, became an architect. I love his
Mm-hmm.
story. Got laid off 3 times, which I'm like, Vince, maybe you weren't a very good architect. I need to tell him that one day. But get laid off 3 times and was like, you know what? I love track. Let me go see what it looks like to coach. And then went to Houston with the great Tom Tellez, and Vince's career is a Hall of Famer career. So
It
I
is.
love that. So all that to say, Bradley, where does track and field start for you?
Ooh, so I was not a track and field guy early. I was actually a baseball and football guy.
Oh, really?
But track and field started for me my senior year in high school.
Okay.
So I was, like I said, a baseball guy and a football guy. And in my baseball career, we decided to get a new coach. And the year before, we went to the Final Four in high school. I went to Salem High School in Conyers, Georgia,
Mhm.
and we got a new head coach. And they just wanted me to run bases. I remember they said, "Well, we know you got speed, but we just want to have you run bases." And so my football coach for a long time was like, "You should just run track, do
Hmm.
track and field. You need to let this baseball go. You want to go to you want to go to college on a football scholarship, and track and field will be a great duo. And he had been like just dogging me like every year, ninth, 10th grade, 11th grade year. And then eventually I was like, you know what? If I'm just going to run bases and and I might as well just run and participate in track and field.
Right.
So my senior year, Mike, I went out and started, had no idea what track and field was. It was just so foreign to me.
Really?
I just always knew that we ran a lot. First day of practice, we did all the drills, the A skips, all the warm-ups that people are familiar with.
Right.
And I realized I've got to do that again on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in January when it's cold. And I'm coming from a baseball in the spring, so we don't move that much,
Right.
Mike.
Right.
And so that was a struggle. That was a huge struggle, and all the 600s that our coach used to make us do.
Yikes.
And man, the Lord just showed me success in that.
Yeah.
And then was did well enough to get a track and field scholarship.
All right, hold on there. Don't go past me there yet, because I'm
Yeah,
curious. Let's stay in high school for a second.
yeah.
I mean, my obvious question here is, right? I mean, so you're a baseball, you're a football, baseball guy. Your track coach, I'm sorry, your football coach is telling you all from freshman year, hey man, maybe you shouldn't play baseball. Maybe you should run track. Now, on one hand, that means like, oh, he saw that you had speed. But I'm wondering if he also saw, because then you go to baseball and they're like, hey man, instead of all that fielding and hitting stuff, why don't you just run bases?
Yeah,
I'm wondering, Bradley, because you're more of an adult now. It's hard as a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid
yeah,
who has a lot of passions, wants to be the
sure.
next um, well, you don't even know who Eric
Yeah,
Davis,
yeah.
whatever, whoever. I don't even know baseball. So whoever's good in
Same. I don't know
baseball,
much about it more anymore.
yeah, I don't know that stuff. Uh, were you not very good at baseball? That's what I really want to ask. You know what I'm saying?
I think I think I was good.
Yeah.
I played a lot more my sophomore year because during the Final Four I played a lot more, and then somehow I guess the coach didn't necessarily think I was the best.
Oh, that's right. You got
I
a new
like,
coach too. Right, right,
yeah,
right,
with
right.
a new coach, but I like to think that I guess I wasn't the best on the field, and so he
Yeah,
said, well, this gentleman has speed. Well, we'll
right,
just let him run bases.
right.
And so to answer your question, I probably wasn't as good as I
Yeah,
thought.
but you brought up a good point. Um, Football, almost all of other sports are. I always get subjective and objective. I don't really understand, but it's more wide, like it's more varied. Like I
Very.
can look at a guy and be like, "Oh, that's a really good baseball player," and someone else goes, "Man, that guy's trash. What are you talking about?" Right? In track, it's like, "Oh, he ran 10:20 versus 12:20. He's good.
Hmm.
He's not good."
Not, yeah.
There's less interpretation
Patient. I like
in
that
track
word.
and field, where in baseball, I mean, obviously you were playing 9, 10, 11, so it's not like, it's like, man, Bradley, I hope you like the bench because that's where you're gonna be. You obviously we're good, in that sense. A new guy comes in and says, yeah, I got plans for Joey over there to be where you're supposed to be, but hey, there's a
Correct.
spot for you. You can run bases or whatnot. So, but yeah, just to kind of, when you're telling the baseball story, then you said the football coach was like, man, he was dog me to run track. I was like, man, was football coach telling you, look, man, this is a baseball thing. All right. So you said you didn't even know much about track when you went over there. So you didn't, like, no friends were on the track team and you'd talk and be like, man, you guys do a lot of run. Not much though, huh?
No, like when you asked me the question, I was thinking about the very first moment I was out there, and I didn't know, much about how practice is structured.
Hmm.
Just kind of going with open hands of like, okay, I guess we're going to do some drills. I guess we'll do some running, but I didn't know it was like that.
How,
Like
how,
we,
how did you know, especially as a senior, like how did they know where to put you? And like I remember when I first came out for football, and I wasn't very big, and they didn't even like tell me where to go, like go to the running backs, go to the receivers, etc. I went to the running backs because that's where my math teacher, Coach Payne, was, and so that's who I knew, and so I just went there. I did I did not end up in the running backs. I quickly moved elsewhere, but I was just like, I don't know. So I know this guy. I'll go there. With track, and so it's different if you start as a freshman because it's like, oh, I can make mistakes, or
yep.
he's just air quotes a freshman. Let him go do long jump, see what happens, whatever, blah blah. But senior year, I got one shot. I don't know much about him. Maybe I know as a track coach, like, oh, I've seen him play ball or football. Like he's fast,
Correct.
But I still got to know, do I put you in the short sprints, the longer sprints? I mean, fast, you could still be an 800-meter guy for all I know. We'll find out. But hurdles, I mean, there's a lot of options here for you. How did they know like where to focus you on in such a short amount of time?
So it was the football. I was running back in football, and so at that time, going to my senior year, I was a bigger guy. I was probably like a buck 90, and they said, "Well, you've got speed, so you can be a sprinter, do the 1 to 200."
Okay.
And interesting enough, they needed a triple jumper,
Oh,
and they wanted me to
oh,
do
that.
triple jump.
See now, okay. I think this happens more than we care to actually talk about out loud. Because I was like, well, how do they identify you? They identify going, oh, we don't have any triple jumpers. This guy's athletic. Let's see what he does.
That's
You
exactly how it
you could have
happened.
been an 8 foot high jumper, and we don't know because we don't have a really good system to
Mhm.
figure out where people actually should go. It was, hey, we don't have any triple jumpers. Make the new guy. We only got 1 year. We can't break him. Throw him over in the triple jump. How'd you like that? That's a fun event.
You know, it was different when you don't know. Like you're just open and you're like, sure, I'll try this. And
Did
I
you have?
enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, that's a good point. If I take the average person off the street and I say, "Hey, what's a 100-meter dash?" 95+% are going to know at least like, oh, it's the football field. Like I run straight, right?
Sure.
If I get 100 people, random people off the street, and I say the long jump, because it's in the name, long jump, like,
Long
oh,
jump.
they may think it's like the broad jump, like, oh, you stand on the pit and you jump. Like, no, you actually run or whatever. But they're gonna. I would venture to say if I asked 100 random people what the triple jump is, 50% are going to get it wrong. Did you
Get it
have
wrong.
any clue what the triple jump was? Like when he said, "Hey, Bradley, let's go try the triple jump," what did you think? Like what
I
the
was
triple
like,
jump?
okay. So he takes me on the runway and, he's showing me all the different things, your steps. And, Coach Jacobs is who I had. He's still at Salem High School now, and he's a
Oh,
phenomenal coach.
nice.
And he just worked on my approach. I think we did more approach work than a lot of the jumping because he said, if you can get your approach
He's a
and
smart
as
guy.
strong as you are, you can get in the pit and all these different things.
What did you think when they told you? Because if 50% would have said they have no clue what the triple jump is, out of that 50%, as we started talking about it, 50% would have said, "Oh, you jump off of one leg, land on the other." And in
Yeah.
reality, you land on the same. What did you
Same
think
leg.
when they, yeah, right? I mean, what did you think the first time they was like, "Oh yeah, no, no, Riley, you took off your right. I want you to land on your right again." Because that's
That
an
was an
awkward, yeah,
that
that's
was
different.
awkward. It was an adjustment.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I gotta do what?
What a crazy event. Yeah.
And so it was a lot of fun, and I had a good experience trying triple jump. It's not where I stayed when I moved off to college when we'll get there, but
Mhm.
it was really fun. But since we're talking about that, it made me think about the very first track and field meet that I participated in.
Mhm.
And we were at the Parkview Invitational, and it was a relay event. And I remember going on the bus, and we're going all day because everyone knows track and field events or
Yep.
days are all day long.
Yep.
And so we go, and I was a part of the relays and did triple jump. And I remember, like, if you got first or second, they would give you like batons as like instead of medals, they give out batons.
Yeah.
And so I
Like
remember
like
getting
like custom batons?
custom batons with Parkview Invitational on it, and I still have them at my parents' house.
Like real colorful or like etched in?
No, they're real colorful. They were like blue, all like the Parkview colors, like the blue, the orange.
I
And
bet you that's my guy Joseph White. Do
really,
you know Joseph White? You know
I
the name?
don't.
He's in Georgia. I can't remember what part. Runs a company called Sports Veins and does custom batons and really like amazing custom batons. And he's right there in Georgia. I can't, what year was this roughly?
Ooh, it's had to be 2010, I want to say,
I
or
wonder if he was doing back then.
2010. Yeah.
Like he does the pin relays batons now. He did this is kind of the weird part of podcasting. So we're recording this in November, but you're listening to this probably in December or maybe even January. In
Mhm.
early December, we'll do at the USTF CCCA convention. We'll do a fun little event with my friend Chad Gunnelson, Coach Gunny, and we'll do a hot wings kind of challenge,
Mhm.
but also podcast. So I'm going to ask you questions while you're eating these hot wings, and the winner is getting a custom baton from my guy Joseph White.
That's awesome.
That's amazing. Like so cool. It wings on it, sauce, and it's so fun. And so we'll do that in December. But I'll have to check in with him and say, when did you actually start doing this? Because it's a full-fledged business now. He's doing an
Yeah.
amazing job. So anyway, shout out to Joseph White, Sports Veins. Check them out. They do an amazing job. That's cool. So
Yeah.
you got an award?
Yeah, we got all of that. And then it was crazy. So all the relays and the jumping happened within the first couple of hours of the track and field event. Now, remember, Mike, I don't know much about track and field. This is my
Right.
first event.
Right.
I didn't know that we're going to be there all day. So listen, Mike,
The greatest trick.
the greatest trick. All right. So I get done and I go over to Coach Jacobs and Coach Davis. He was also one of our coaches. And I said, all right, coach, the 4x1's done, triple jump is done. I'm ready to go. It's time to go. And he's like, what are you talking about? We still got the 100, 110, 100 hurdles, all the other 4x4. I mean, the entire meet has not finished. And I'm standing there and I'm like, oh, I've got to be here all day. I didn't bring no snacks. I didn't bring, it was I learned the hard way, Mike. And I was like, oh, this is what track and field is.
That's a good point. I think about these clinics and things like this, and it's like, we talk about this, the top 5% of a workout or an athlete. Man, the basics are so important. Here is, most of our kids are new, whether you're a senior or a freshman, they don't know. They think they know,
No.
and you think maybe they know as a coach, but in reality, it's like they have no clue. Like, I need to spell this out for them. Hey, we're gonna leave at 8. We're gonna get there at 9. It's not gonna end until 6. Which means so you need to make sure you're bringing X and Y and Z, and hey, it's going to be 90, so make sure you bring a shade and Y, like things that you air quotes should take for granted.
Should.
You cannot.
You
You
can't.
cannot.
You
You
can't.
thought it was over.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it is. And so when
But you came back though.
I came back, it was something, and I think track and field does that to an athlete or a coach where you get this it's like addicting, like when you perform and you're around all the other athletes and coaches and everyone's running and jumping and
Yeah,
throwing, and you're like, man, this is fun. And obviously when you win, that's fun and all that stuff. And I think that was part of it as well, like with
sure,
anyone.
sure.
But I enjoyed the group of guys that I was with. We ran and did well. And I just started understanding track and field. And I
Hmm.
was like, man, I'm actually running pretty well. Maybe I could.
Hmm.
And so I was already on that track to go to college for football. And then the coach saw that, hey, have you just started running your senior year? And I'm like, yes, sir. And he said, man, like, we want you to come up for track and field as well. So,
Huh.
and that's how I landed, in college, and we'll get to there in a minute. But
So first of all, you brought up a great point about kind of the addiction of track and field. There must be something to it because we have a lot of minuses on our sport, and one of the ones that grinds my gears the most is this 9 in the morning till 6 p.m. kind of thing. Because I'm
mhm,
always trying to think, how do we bring more people into the fold? And
sport, yeah,
who if you told me, I'm a big college football fan, but if you told me a college football game was 12 hours, I don't know that I'd be a college football fan. Honestly, I'd be like, it's
correct.
12 hours. I got other things. Can I get 4 games in that time period? But that's only one game. That's crazy, right? But it continues to be the most highly participated sport on the high school level when you combine boys and girls together, on the
Mhm.
college level when you add men and women together. So there is something to it. Now, before we get to college, I want to start figuring out your mindset as a 17, 18-year-old kid. Were you, and maybe even your other sports, you can answer this like when you talk about football and baseball coaches, looking back, were you asking, like knowing now that you become a track coach, were you asking questions, curiosity questions of like why did we do that? Not not questioning like, hey, coach, why are you doing this? But like, hey, I wonder why did we do that workout today? But then we did this kind of radically different workout the next day. Or even on the football side, hey, coach, on 3rd and 3, I see you called the trap, but then on 4th and inches, why did you decide to punt this time versus smash mouth on it? You know what I'm saying? Like
I
questions
did.
that would make someone go, oh, this guy's gonna be a coach one day. Were you asking those type of questions? And by the way, you're 17, 18 year olds, you get all the grace in the world that you were just like, run ball, see ball, run ball.
Yeah, at that time I wasn't asking those
Fair,
questions.
fair.
I was geared at 17, 18 years old was like if my coach is requiring me to do this, then I'm going to do my best in that.
Correct.
I'm not going to ask questions
Right.
because at in that point he is the coach. He or she is the coach. I'm
That's right.
the athlete, and if he or she wants me to run through that brick wall and get that whatever, I'm going to
Right.
do that. And that's how I was as I approached football and track and field
Yep.
in my career.
Yeah, that's like I said, all grace. It's always interesting me because the spoiler alert is everybody on the podcast becomes a track coach. I'm always like, well, as a 17, and some 17-year-olds, and I think not necessarily personality, but how we're wired. Some even as 17-year-olds are like, man, I was fascinated with why we did, block starts on Monday, but then core work on Tuesdays, and then came back with max speed on went like, why? Why didn't we just do acceleration every day or what, like
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
not
yeah,
they're
yeah.
not
That's good.
questioning it. They're like, I'm just trying to, why, like it's working, so I want to know why. And lo and behold, they become track coaches. But again, there's many ways there. So okay, so you're not necessarily asking questions of like curiosity at this point.
Correct.
uh, so what are you thinking as you start looking at college? What are you thinking? Where'd you look at? Where'd you go? And what were you thinking of becoming a scientist, a business owner? Whatever we think as 18-year-olds.
I think for me, so I want to be clear is that I would consider myself a football guy when I was 17, 18.
Okay.
And track and field was just something that at that time, like, okay, baseball's not working. This is something that I'm just going to do because it
Right.
will benefit me for football. Because my whole thought process at that time was like, I'm going to college to play football.
Hmm.
And so
Now, did you crazily think you're going to play in the NFL?
there was later in my college, I
Yeah.
did think there was a moment. There were some we'll get there.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. All right.
And so, but no, I wanted to get a scholarship. I
Yep.
wanted to do football. I wanted to, help my parents out because they gave me so much, all
Right.
that.
Right.
And so, so when the track and field coach called from college called and said, "Hey, like I know you're signing with us for football, but what you've done your senior year is quite impressive. To be someone who's never done this before,
Right.
and we would like to participate in a scholarship with you for track and field."
Wow.
And I went to Shorter University in Rome.
Yeah. Did you really? Oh
I
man.
did. And so I was just in my mind like, okay, that's cool. That's scholarship football, scholarship for track and field. That sounds great. But I wasn't
Yeah.
thinking about track and field like I do now. It was just
Right.
all football in the forefront of mind.
Yeah.
Track and field is just something fun. And
Something to
I'm
do, and it's going to pay some of the bills. So cool.
correct.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Um, and so that was my process going into college.
Yeah. Did you look elsewhere as well, or was it shorter from the jump?
So I'm glad you. So originally, when I was getting recruited, Gardner Webb was one on
Yeah.
my was on the list, and I remember getting a call. I think at the time, I think his name was Coach Foster. I think he was the DB coach at the time, and I remember him calling me, and he says, "Hey, look, we've got your highlight film. There wasn't a big huddle thing, all that
Yeah.
stuff like
Yeah.
now. You had to make the tapes and send them all and that nature." So he said, "I got your film." He said, "You've done some really good stuff, and we want to bring you on a visit, but there is a running back that we want to bring up before. It's like there's three of you guys. We've already one said no. The second one we're bringing up, and you're going to be the third one that we want to bring up."
Mm.
And so I was really excited about okay, Gardner Webb, all these different things. And so I remember him calling me, and he said, "Hey, Bradley, just bad news. That gentleman, took this, we're going to bring him up. He's accepted. So we don't have a spot for you. But I do know," and this is what he said. He said, "I do know Phil Jones at Shorter University that is looking for someone like you.
Wow.
and I would love to tell him that he should have you and all that. That's how it worked.
Dude,
Like
that's
that's
a
how it worked.
great story because we're hearing all these bad things about college coaches, right? How
Mhm.
they're just, they're not attentive, they're not really
Yeah.
helpful, they're only out for themselves. In fact, just last night, we got into a debate, or I like to stir debates. I like to create communication about college coaches, specifically track and field, not returning
Mhm.
emails of athletes. And again, I see both sides. I talk to high school coaches all day, and I talk
Correct.
to college coaches all day. I was just at a different clinic up in Kankakee, where a college coach said he gets
Mhm.
300 emails a day. Now, even if he's exaggerating, because that's a lot,
That's a lot.
that's a
Whew.
lot. But even if he's exaggerating by double, and he's only getting 150, that's still a lot,
It's still a lot. Yeah.
right? And so when we talk about our college coaches not returning emails, I still don't like. I think I have judgment on it because I can't stand that. Like meaning when someone emails me, it grates at me until I can get a response. Even if it's a
Correct.
response, and sometimes the response is no, hey, I can't do that, whatever. But if it's sitting in my inbox, it hurts me not to get a response. It really
Correct.
to not give a response. So I have a little bit of judgment of our coaches who don't respond.
Mhm.
And then there were a lot of college coaches that came in and was like, hey, man, you know what? It works both ways. I've emailed high school coaches and they don't respond. And it's like, okay, well, that's not good either, guys.
No.
But so to hear the story of a college coach, a football coach here in this example, who, and again, it must be tough for football, right? Like you can only have so many running backs. You can only have so many offensive
Correct.
linemen, et cetera. And you got to make sure you have your third, fourth, fifth choice on the line because you
Correct.
don't always get first and second choice, right? But for him to, first of all, to communicate back with you and say, "Hey, Bradley, I'm sorry, I got bad news." Like he could have just ghosted you and
Correct.
excuse saying I'm busy, whatever, and he is busy. So
He's busy. Yeah.
yeah, but for him to communicate with you, love that. And then to me, this is like the extra step, like, oh, you're not just a good guy, you care. Hey, I
Correct.
know this coach. I trust him. You would do well with him. Let me call him, or call him and let him know that I said you should. That's
Yeah.
an extra step, and I wish more of us could take those extra
It
steps.
is. And, I've never had, that was the last conversation that I ever had with Coach Foster,
Is that right?
yeah. And so, that
Wait, do you know where he is today?
I have no idea where he is.
Bro, I'm going to challenge you. Find him. If
Well,
if he's still coaching, it's super
coaching,
easy to,
yeah.
yeah, if he's still coaching. But even in today's world with Facebook and etc., find him and
Hmm.
just shoot him a message and be like, "Hey, you probably don't even remember me, but here's what you did for me. And by the way, that led to X and Y. Like I owe a little bit of my career, my life to you
Yeah.
taking that because you could have just said, "Hey, sorry, not sorry," and moved on. Thank you.
Correct.
It's easy for us to do the negatives in life, right? To leave a bad
Mhm.
review and stuff like this. It's a little bit harder to take the extra step, just like he took for
The
you,
extra
that
step.
extra step, and just be like, "Hey, man, just thanks. Just want to say thank you." That will make that dude's day.
For real. And
Day.
I haven't thought about it since we're going down this path of my journey. And I mean that was such a blessing from the Lord because that has been a huge piece on where I'm at today and
Love that.
all the different things that we'll
Love
probably
that.
discuss.
So you go to a very cool university, shorter university. Was it Scott Bird back then?
It sure was
Yeah.
Scott Bird and Coach Black, Rochelle Black was the
Oh, Rochelle was there. I didn't know Rochelle.
yeah, Rochelle was
Yeah,
there.
I love her.
We still talk like often. It's
I love
amazing.
Rochelle. He's a good dude. I love him. Was because I believe that's where Nigel Talton went to school. Was he before you?
No, he came in. So I was there 1 year before he transferred in, and he
Yeah,
was in our 4x1 team
yeah.
we won nationals with.
He's been on the podcast.
I did not know Nigel had been on the podcast.
Bro, he's Mr. Freeze.
I know,
When
Mr.
it
Freeman.
was early in the podcast, I didn't have a list 100 long. Trust me, no one knew what the heck I was doing,
Yeah.
and I don't even know how. I must have just, he had that viral clip, and I think I must have heard somewhere that he was a track dude, and I was like, well, that'd be a cool dude to have on there. And yeah, I had Nigel, old Mr. Freeze from the Braves on the
Yeah.
podcast.
Nigel is we do fantasy football every year, so he's part of the 12 guys that we get together. So there's a lot of talking
Oh,
trash in our
sure, I could
group.
see that.
So yeah, so Nigel, yeah, I know
That's
him. We
awesome.
spent a lot of time with him, and as I mentioned, he was part of our 4x1 team that
Yeah,
won nationals years ago, and
love that.
he was
All right,
a
so you
great
go to
guy.
shorter. What do you start majoring in? What at first as a freshman? What are you thinking about becoming?
It was simple, sports management, business, things of that nature. I thought I wanted to be a sports agent at one time.
Hmm.
Then I was like, you got to be you got to be a lawyer. You got to read a lot at that time.
Hmm.
I don't
Hmm.
want to read that much. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it started there, and then I thought I wanted to be an athletic director
Hmm.
at some point, and then I landed on business and working with startups, and I'm sure we'll get there
Hmm. Hmm.
when I graduated and
But
how.
no, I'm not hearing coaching necessarily. Like I hear administration, which I love,
Mhm.
sports agent, which is very, I don't want to say very common, but not uncommon. At that clinic I was at in Tampa, I met one of the South Florida athletes, and he had just graduated. And I was like, "Oh, what do you want to like? What are you trying to do?" And he's like, "Yeah, I want to become a sports agent." And I was like, "Cool." I was like, "Have you interned? Like, have you called it a sport?" He's like, "No, I haven't gotten that far." And I was like, You're probably not going to become a sports agent, by the
No,
way."
no, but no,
Uh,
coaching. Like
yeah.
coaching was not on the radar at all, Mike.
Yeah.
Zero.
Okay.
It was, I'm playing football, I'm running track,
All 4 years you do both?
I did both all 4 years,
Oh man.
and coaching was nowhere to be found.
Really? And you had, I know Scott well, and Coach Blackwell. So you had like, career coaches, people who love coaching right in
Correct.
front of you. And I'm sure your football coaches were real good as well.
Good.
And
Yep.
you never looked at one of those guys and be like, I want to do like that guy looks like he's having fun. Like I want to do that.
No, no, I didn't. I think I was always been on the journey of like, okay, this is the season that I'm in, and I want to enjoy it, but also like, okay, I was thinking more of like, what's my career like? Like I was sharing with athletic director, sports administration, business. My
Yeah.
mind has always been turning for that,
Right.
and sports in college for me was just an avenue for me to get there, if you
Hmm.
will.
Now
Um,
you say that, but you also kind of hinted earlier that for some part you thought maybe the NFL was going to be the calling.
I did. There was one year my junior year in college where um, I thought that there might be a chance because I did those little regional combines, and then there
Hmm.
was a couple looks going on, and I had a pretty good year as a running back at Shorter. And then I thought, well, okay, well, maybe it wasn't something a dream of mine. That's like, okay, I'm getting some attention. That could be something. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know.
yeah.
And that was my junior year in college. But then my senior year, I didn't love football like I loved it anymore.
Mm.
And I remember it was homecoming game, and me and my mother were standing there for homecoming, and we were hugging. And I told her, I said, I don't love it like that no more.
Wow.
I don't love it. And so, I told her that, even if I wanted to try to pursue. And I mean, those regional combines are cool for a lot of, but the thought or idea of it maybe, but then I realized I didn't love it anymore. And so
Yeah.
I was shutting that door.
What, why? And what I mean by is I'm not hearing like a lot of times I'll hear when someone falls out of love of a sport, they're frustrated because they have a lot of injuries, or maybe I joined this running back for this team and we were 0 and 10, and it just frustrated me that
Mhm.
I needed all 11 offensive people, not just me.
Sure.
I'm not hearing that necessarily. I'm hearing you had a pretty good career, and I'm
I
not
had
hearing injuries.
no, I didn't really have thank the Lord, I didn't have major injuries. I always broke my ankles for a time or two, so I really had bad ankles. But
Sure.
um, no, I just, I think
You didn't have bad coaching experience, guys that were just dogging
no,
you no matter what, and
no,
you're
it's
not having academic issues. This just kind of a things have a time frame, so it just got to a point where it's like this might be it for football
this
for me.
might be it. And I
Yeah.
think I think it was I think is a little bit of different things like, okay, well, I my journey is coming to I'm just always thinking about the future. I think that's
Hmm.
like, okay, what's next?
Hmm.
And I like this could be it, but no major injuries, no academics.
Yeah.
And when I'm playing, I'm like, you know what? This ship has run its course.
This is fascinating to me because especially for young people, as you get to your senior year, you're 21, 22-ish years old, maybe 23. Um, it's easy, even as adults, by the way, I'm putting this on young people, but even as adults, we get caught up in what our identity is. And
Yeah,
so, you mentioned you answered a question that I ask a lot of times of football slash track people. Are you a football player who runs track or a track person who runs football? You were definitely a football player who ran track. But that was your identity. Like when people looked at Bradley Moon, it was like, oh, he's a football player.
yeah,
Like, oh, like I'm sure your senior year of high school, how many times? Hey, where are you going to go play ball at? Hey,
correct.
I just watched the Florida State game. I think you could play Florida State. Why did you go visit
Sure.
there? All this kind of stuff, right? I mean, like every day.
Yeah,
I remember in high school, they didn't ask me, but I had a good friend who was really good. They asked him every day, where are you going to play ball? Not even where are you going to school. Where are you going
hmm
to play ball? It
play
becomes
ball.
your identity. How did you made seemingly a very mature, even before it was over during senior year, decision of like, yeah, I'm not sure I love this anymore. Kind of meaning like, this really isn't my identity.
Yes,
Maybe you didn't know what your identity really was.
correct.
You seem to be, so far, just listening to some language, a man of faith. That's who our identity should be in. So
Absolutely.
maybe whether there was a turning point there, has it always been in there? I mean, this is a pretty mature thing for a 21-ish, 2-year old kid.
I think a big part of it is my faith, but I didn't want athletics just to be who I was or who
Okay.
I am.
Hmm.
My parents, you have to be bigger than, this sport.
Love
Your
it.
character is all that matters. I don't care how many touchdowns you score, how many,
Love it.
how fast you run it, in a 100 or 200-meter dash.
Love it.
That cannot be your identity. What is your character? When
Love
someone's
that.
not around, what are they saying about you behind closed doors?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so
What,
I
what what's mom and dad do, or during this time frame? What did they do for a living?
So my dad he was retired state trooper for Georgia. So he
Oh,
did that for 33 years.
that's a tough dude,
It
man. Come
is,
on.
man.
Okay,
He
okay.
was tough. He was tough as nails. And me and my brother,
You guys weigh nothing.
I'm telling you, we ain't got away with anything, Mike. So he did that for 33 years. And then he retired and then he went to culinary school.
Shut up. That's so cool.
He went to culinary school and he graduated. He's a chef and he doesn't he says I'm a chef in my own home. So he cooks all the stuff at home and gadgets.
Did he go to like Johnson and Wales or something, or?
He went to the one is a culinary a school of arts here in Atlanta.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. 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 Yeah.
And
Hmm.
so he did that. And so he did that years ago. And then
Dude.
my mom, she is an accountant. She's been in accounting or a CPA for as long as I've been living. And she's
Yeah.
with the Southern Company now. And she's got about maybe 3 to 5 years left before she
Yeah.
retires.
So
So
super analytical.
correct.
Not much gets by her either, by the way.
No, no, we got a
She's
lot of
a
whoopings growing up.
she's a cop of numbers, right? So I mean, she
Correct.
understands. Like, I'm sure that sounds like the type of mom that when you're looking at colleges, she's talking about, okay, well, it costs this, and they're offering you X. That means you got to figure
Correct.
out why, and we only got this part of why, or whatever. Yeah,
Correct.
dude, you have a good mom and dad. Like
Yeah, it's a
they're really
blessing.
looking out over you, and you said brother, yeah,
Yeah. And so that's what they did. And
love
so
that.
that's kind of my thought process as I was transitioning out
Yeah.
of football and just
But
thinking
not
about
but not track. I'm not hearing.
no.
Okay.
So it's interesting. So at that time, uh, remember I was going to college for football, not just for track. Track
Right.
was something that I was just doing.
Right.
But then when college, my passion for track, it started switching.
Hmm.
Interesting enough. So football became less track and field. And I think that's because of when we won a national championship there with Nigel and all the 4x1 team. And so I began to enjoy that success like most people do when
Yeah.
you have success. And so it started switching.
Hmm.
And at that time, I was like, football, uh-uh, but I enjoy track.
Hmm.
And so I wanted to focus more on that.
Are you becoming more of a track fan? Like now you know who what year did you graduate high school?
I graduated in 2010.
So are you starting to learn like, oh, I understand who Justin Gatlin is, and I
Correct.
understand Usain Bolt,
Well,
and yeah, so you started like, because it didn't sound like in high school you knew
I ain't know
nothing.
nothing.
Right.
I
So
ain't know
so
nothing.
you're starting to like, you're getting into the culture of track and
The
field through
culture.
this college as well.
And so it began to shift. And so But yeah, that's how it was. It was more like
Yeah.
one I thought was like my focus, and then it just started switching as track and field being a sport that I enjoyed,
Yeah.
but I still wasn't thinking about coaching at all.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
something that I prefer over the other.
What a healthy example, though. Even actually, you know what? This is interesting. I just kind of put these two together. I'm always afraid of people that feel stuck in something, whether it's a job, a major, a sport, because it becomes their identity, and they
Mhm.
feel like they're trapped, they're too far. I can't switch now, et cetera, et cetera. But knowing that things run out of time sometimes, right?
Mhm.
Now, some things shouldn't, right? Marriages, your faith, et cetera. But your job or a
Mhm.
major or a sport that I participate in might run out. That's okay. You
It's
you
okay.
might not play football until you're 80. Some people do. I'm sure there's an 80-year-old league out there somewhere. Uh, but that it's healthy to explore other passions, just like your dad did,
Hmm.
right? 30 plus
Yeah.
years on the trooper force, and then was like, you know what? That was fun and all, but you know who I am. I'm really chef dad. I
Chef
want to
Daddy.
really learn this more. Because easily, look, and you know your dad better than anybody. I could see. I've never met him, but I could see someone like your dad going, dude, that ship has sailed. I want to do that in high school. I went in to become a trooper, had a great career. I'm too old,
Sure.
old dog, new tricks, new dog
Tricks. Yeah,
tricks.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And instead was like, what's stopping me from what he was probably 50 something at that point? What's stopping me
Yeah.
from 50 something to learning something new? I have a passion
Correct.
for it. And he did it. And here's the same story in a younger version of you going, hey man, football's been awesome. Like, thank God for football. I might
Yeah.
not be in college or this college if it weren't
Yeah.
for football. Might not have explored track the way I do if it
Correct.
weren't for football.
Correct.
But maybe football is not primary anymore. There's other things in
Correct.
my life. That's a great lesson for our coaches that feel stuck coaching track and field, or feel stuck that they're a football coach who coaches track and wishes that it was the other way around. I wish I was a track coach who did a little football.
Sure.
That's a great example that it's possible no matter what age, and your dad shows
No
us
matter.
that. So that's really
Yeah.
cool. I love
So
that.
it was an interesting experience. And I think the biggest thing for me is just always like, okay, like I know this is it's season. Like when you think about these sports, like all of us, we may not, a lot of us won't be pro athletes of any kind. Most of us, we know, and the percentage better than anyone from track and field or
Hmm.
football or
Hmm.
whatever the sport might be, but we will be professionals in other things.
That's right.
And so my goal deep down in the foundation of who I was is like, this is just a season, but what is Bradley 20, 30 years from now?
Right, 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 right,
You
right.
know, I don't want to be you remember back in the day when I was doing X, Y, and Z, I never wanted that to be my
Yeah,
story.
yeah. That's your only story. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, right.
So, but anyway,
So,
that's just kind of the pivotal
so
points.
when you graduated, what do you, because I don't hear you saying, yeah, so now I got to go find a coaching job. What's your first step out of after graduating college?
So I started working with a mom. So as I mentioned, had a business degree, sports management,
Right.
and then I got a call from these two gentlemen that had just bought this uh, glove company. They made baseball and softball gloves, and they customized them. And they called me saying, "Hey, we've got this yearly internship where for this little sports company that we bought, and your name came up. It was in
Hmm.
Rome, and I was
Okay.
like,
Okay.
sure, sure, I'll do it." And at this time, this was 2015. They said, "Look, we don't have an office, so you get to work from home."
Oh, wow. Wow.
And I'm like, "Work from home? Like, what is
Yeah.
that?"
What
Like,
is that? Right.
10 years ago, right? 10 years ago. And I was telling like my parents about, "Hey, I just got this yearly internship and I get to work from home." And they're like, "What?"
Yeah. Especially accountant and cop. They're like, wait a
Yeah.
minute, that
Huh?
doesn't exist.
Well, it doesn't exist. And so I was working from home, and we had certain sessions we would go in, and I did that for a year.
What were you doing? Were you marketing? Were you product development? What?
So it was a little bit of everything. So it was
Yeah.
just the two owners and myself, and they had just bought this business. And so I was the marketing guy, the ops guy, sales. I mean,
Hmm.
everything that a
Yep.
business would do,
Yep.
I was doing it. And so it was really great for me because I learned a lot about entrepreneurship
Hmm.
at that time, because these other gentlemen had already had other businesses that they bought and sold. And this is just something they wanted to try to see
Right.
if they could do something. And so I just gravitated to learn a lot from them. Did that for a year. And then when I didn't know what to do, I started teaching.
Hmm.
I started teaching
I can see
at,
that.
at a at a Christian school here in town, Unity Christian School up
Hmm.
here in Rome. And I was the PE teacher and health teacher, and then started coaching football, started coaching
Hmm.
track and field.
Right.
And that's where I started dabbling in coaching.
Hmm.
And but I wasn't set out to be a coach or to really have a passion for it.
What was the first, can you remember like the first, maybe not necessarily the first day, but the first month of coaching, whether it was football or track and field? Because it's one thing to be an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
It's different when you're on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
To your point about, most athletes, young people are, see ball, hit ball. Coach tells me to run, I run. Coach tells me to jump, I jump. I don't question it. I just do it. Now you got to be on the other side of telling young people to jump, and you have in your mind why, to do
Sure.
this or run that. What did like? Was it like a fish to water? Like when you first started coaching, you're like, oh man, like your brain has to
It
move
switches.
differently. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. How was that first experiences for you?
I think for track and field, it was okay. Like I thought about all the things that Coach Bird,
Hmm.
Coach Black would make us do.
Right.
And and you know them, I had phenomenal coaches. They were great. And
Very.
so I was like, okay, what would they do? And so this was the warm up. These are all the, and so my mind began to think like, okay, Coach Bird, Coach Black, these are the things they made us do, and we
All
had
right.
success. So let me pull that from them
Right.
and just put it on some middle school and high school kids and
Right.
just see what
Very
happens.
common. Yep.
Very common. And so that's what I did. I would say to answer that question, like the first 30 days of being a track and field coach.
Hmm. Hmm. You're a smart guy. And you're right in town. So are you calling Rochelle and Scott and be like, hey man, I was thinking about doing this. What do you think about that? Or are you going online? You have the luxury of you have YouTube at this point, things like that. But what are you doing in regards to like almost coaching education? I don't want to ask that question yet right now, but this is just,
Yeah, yeah.
learning how to walk for crying out loud.
Correct. I like it. So it was more leaning on them, Coach
Mhm.
Bird and Coach Black. And I've had all the types of workouts that I started just looking at all the workouts they given us. And I was like, okay, this is how they did it. I remember shoot, like the summer training program that we got from them. I just used that as a foundation because
Right.
you don't know what you don't know. And so
Right.
this is this seems to be helpful, and I'll tweak a couple things here and there,
Hmm.
but I just use their blueprint. Like
Hmm.
the first year of coaching, I just used what I got from them all the years
Yeah,
prior.
very common. You're exactly right. You don't know anything, but you know how you were coached.
Mhm.
Well, especially if you had a good experience with it, it's like, well, it worked for me.
Correct.
Let's try that. What else? What else is there? It's actually probably the safer way versus just like, well, I'm just going to make it up. Screw what my coaches did. I'm going to make
Correct.
it up. So it is probably the safer way, especially again if you had a good experience and good results from it. So, how long were you at this school?
So I only taught there for 2 years,
Okay, yeah.
but I still coach their track and field team to this day.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So I
Uh,
only taught
because
there for 2 years. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, well, no, because it still feels like you're not settled on a career at this point. I mean, it's still early, so
Yeah,
you
yeah.
interned, you're teaching. So what do you do after 2 years of teaching, though?
So after 2 years, I get this call from another gentleman who actually he taught my wife. He was a professor at Shorter, and he said, "Hey, I'm starting this company. So I want you to understand, like this business always has been like gravitating. The startup life has always
Mm-hmm.
the Lord has
Mm-hmm.
just always put in my path.
Yep.
So I got a call. He said, "Hey, we started this company. It's a data science company, and we want to bring you on and be a data analyst and all that." And that offer actually happened the first year of my teaching when I was at Unity, but they weren't ready for me to join them. So I left after 2 years. I left and did that for 6 years.
Okay, hold on. First of all, you said your wife. Did you meet your wife at Shorter?
I sure did.
Dude, you definitely need to find that coach from Gardner Webb. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I do, yeah.
think about this. Your life radically changed
It
because
did.
he took that extra step and said, "Hey, man, I know the guy's shorter. Let's get you connected there." I mean, that
Correct.
wasn't just about scholarship for crying out loud.
No,
That
no,
was about life there. I love
life.
that. Second of all, you did data science for 6 years. I didn't hear, I don't know what major you would pick for that, but I don't think that that's something that I would have thought just from hearing a little bit of your story. What does that entail? How do those guys even find you, and what does that entail?
So I think this kind of goes back to what we're talking about, like being more than a football or track and field athlete.
Hmm,
And so all these different things were in Rome. And so like going to shorter and playing football and running and participating in track and field and doing things in the community, these were individuals that have heard about, hey, Bradley Moon is of great character. If you want to start something and you're looking for a young man or woman, this is an individual that you should look to. And so all the jobs or occupations that I've received over this time have always been phone calls from me.
hmm,
And so that's how I found, like, I didn't know this was a thing.
right.
They just, hey, I remember I taught your wife all these different things. I'm like, okay, sure.
Hmm,
I'll have a conversation because I always had this desire to be in business, to be an entrepreneur, all
right.
the things. And so that's kind of led me down that path. And
Now,
so,
typically a guy like that, I've met several of you crazy people. You've got 1,000 ideas for businesses.
sure,
Uh, Ever explore any of those, or
we'll get to
okay, all
those.
right,
Yeah,
that's what I figured. All
yeah,
right.
yeah. We'll get to those here in a little
All
bit.
right, so what is a I have this picture in my head of what a data scientist does. What does a data scientist actually do?
So it was a data science company, and then my role was like an analyst there. And so we had a technology where if you had an image, we had this little image handler, and then it would render or produce like 6,000 different algorithms that would actually expose more information. So that could be a mammogram or a CT scan MRI. And so my job in that was to review those. And so I learned all this on the job. Like I didn't go to school for this. I just
Yeah,
learned
yeah, yeah,
on the
yeah,
job.
yeah.
And so it was a really neat technology and all that. And so I analyzed a lot of images
So you're looking at scans like of the brain, an
of the
MRI of the
brain.
brain.
Yeah.
And no offense, what the hell are you doing? Because I'm not. It gets me a little concerned about the medical field if you are diagnosing, because I'm not here.
No,
Okay, okay.
no, there was no diagnosing. It was more like, so their system was as I learned about the algorithm. So like the internal team really taught me a really good job on like what the algorithm was exposing, like new information. And so what I would do is like, hey, look, these are, say, out of the 6,000 algorithms or results, these are the 35 that seem to be exposing more data because it's talking about how do you expose more data in the image.
Okay, 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 okay.
Okay. And so then what we would do, we would have a radiologist or someone say, hey, look, this is what we found. Is this useful to you? So no diagnosing at all. This is just, yeah, whew, yeah. Okay. No,
Very
that's
concerned, Bradley. I didn't, you didn't introduce yourself as Dr. Moon, so I'm like, where? I'm so
no,
concerned. Okay, all
no,
right.
no. So, and I did
Was
that.
this fun work for you?
It was fun work because of the rooms that I was able to be a part of, because I keep going back to like my core is wanting to be a business owner or an entrepreneur, and being in these rooms where this is a startup and being in the rooms to see how the sausage is being made,
You like that aspect?
that aspect of it. That's
Okay.
what I was like. So I said, I took this job to learn like how does business actually ran?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, how do they market something when you have a new product and
Right.
nobody knows about it? That's what I was just kind of being on a fly on the
Not
wall.
necessarily looking at the output of the algorithm. Yeah, okay, that's where I was just like, Bradley is like, I've done whether it's the podcast or sales or coaching for a long, long time now. I'm an old man. So I have a pretty good beat on people after a few minutes to talk to them. I'm like, this, there's people who love that, who love give me 1,000 pages of data and go find the worm, the one thing, right? People just, I mean, that's a skill. It absolutely is. And thank God people have that skill. I'm like, man, I just can't see you looking at this code and this algorithm and these scans and finding the ones that are giving the best, data output to go give to someone else. That's the part
Correct.
partly that, but also and then to go give it to someone else. That doesn't seem like Bradley seems like the kind of guy who's like, I want to get my hands in it.
Yeah.
So that's where I was like, this is fun. You're talking about kind of the back end stuff of like,
Correct.
oh,
Behind the
I
curtains.
see how they're doing, how they think about R&D. I'm thinking, I see how they find markets to go to, how they promote this versus how we promoted batting gloves. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
That makes a
it was
ton of
like
sense.
that. That was that. It wasn't so much of the actual job. It was like this is an opportunity for someone that's young in their early 20s to learn about
Right.
how to actually start a business. What does it look
Business.
like?
Yeah.
And so did that for
6 years.
6 years.
Yeah, well, you must have been good and valuable because you don't keep
I
people
did
around.
okay.
You don't keep people around for 6 years, man. Yeah, and
Um,
still coaching at the school.
correct. And so during this time, this is where um like the coach thing started kind of dialing in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it really happened I had two athletes. They're in college now, Cooper Giddens and Lizzie Pardue. Cooper is at Lee University and Lizzie Pardue is at Samford.
Oh wow.
And I had these two individuals since they were in middle school.
Oh wow.
And then to watch them progress as young, men and women
Mm-hmm.
and on. And that coaching bug like started tweaking for me when they like, Coach, I really like track and field. And they
Hmm.
said, I think I could be really good. And so me, I was like, whoo, Mike, I gotta get educated. I gotta,
I can see that.
I've got to start, cooking my own
Mm-hmm.
system, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And those two athletes really started this journey of like how I got to where I'm at now
Right.
was the really start of all of this.
How are you balancing coaching and a full-time job? Like, are you getting off at 3 every day? How are you working that out?
That's correct. So I have it set up where like I have all the meetings I need before, and then I get off say 3:30 and go coach. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what I do now in the fall with the athletes that I see now. The schedule is still the same. And what I've appreciated with the people that I've worked with, they say, you're an adult, you know it needs to be done, and don't have anyone waiting for your
Yeah.
material.
Wow.
If you can do that, then you can continue to do this coaching and
Yeah.
work with us. And so it's really been a neat situation, and I'm grateful because it's not very common, if you will.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's so freeing when you get complete trust. You got to earn it. I get that,
Yes.
and some people will say, I want my employees to earn it, but then know that there's never a finish line to actually earning it. It's like,
Mhm.
no, they still haven't done this, or oh, they've only been here 5 years. Well, what is it? Is it 10 years? Is it 15 years?
Yeah.
What is it? And then it's 10 years. Like, well, things have changed in the business, and I still gotta, it's like, man, it's so freeing when you are allowed to be yourself, see, be told what the goal is, and then go to the goal. Go
Mhm.
get it. And you know what? If you don't, well, there's consequences to that. We'll talk about
Correct.
that. But if you can do it legally and ethically to get to the goal, go get her done. Maybe you can figure out stuff and teach us how to do things, right? That's so freeing, dude. I love that for
Mhm.
you.
Yeah. So
That's really cool.
and so then, yeah, so I left there, and then I started working and then that's how coaching really
Yeah.
in that 6 year window of doing that full time and then tweaking the coaches is when I start really falling in love with it.
How old are you at the end of the 6 years of that
Oh my
company? Are you
goodness. So
28-ish,
yeah,
29-ish?
I left there in 2023. So I was there. I started working there in 2018
Hmm.
ish.
Hmm.
That's 5 years. Yeah. And then I
Yeah.
left in 2023.
So
And
you are so why'd you leave? And you know, if you really are a serial entrepreneur, that's a dumb question because that's what serial entrepreneurs do.
Yeah.
They leave so they can go somewhere. I mean, that's just what you
Yeah.
do.
So I started there. I started working with them I was 27. And then, yeah, then 32 is
Hmm.
when I left. And
Hmm.
then I'll be 34 in November in
Hmm.
6 days.
Oh man, happy early birthday, brother.
Thank you. And
You're so young.
so,
What a pup.
yeah, 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 yeah. So, so I left because I wanted to really start pursuing more coaching
Mm,
a little bit
okay.
more.
So the
And
dial really has been turning here.
it's really
Yeah,
been
yeah.
turning me. And so I wanted to leave there to pursue more coaching.
Hmm.
And then,
Well, why did you think you had to leave for that? Because you're working a full-time gig, doing well, successful,
sure.
uh, and coaching. So it's not like that's getting in the way of coaching. You wanted to do more into coaching. What was the job hindering you from?
I think it was more of I wanted to be able to have coach more students.
Okay.
And so I I thought that, leaving would be a good route where I could do that.
Okay.
And it was a lot of unknown about, maybe I shouldn't leave, maybe I shouldn't. But then I was telling my wife that I think I should really turn up the dial in coaching more and
Hmm.
to leave this. And, then if I needed to get something else to kind of, supplement, then I would.
All right.
But I at that time, I thought I really wanted to pursue this coaching and coach more athletes and things of that nature. So I started dialing that up a lot more.
So what's that look like? Because you know what's funny to me is you're married,
Yeah,
and I've been married for 17, almost 18 years now. Um, the decisions that you used to make on your own just don't happen anymore. You have a partner, you have someone that you're beholden to,
correct.
and women are typically, my experience, a
Hmm.
little bit more practical, not necessarily educated, but at least for my wife, smarter than me. So when you're going through this process, you know, she's got to give you a blessing, right? Or
Correct.
you know, other things start to happen, and
Yeah,
we don't
yeah,
want
yeah,
those
yeah.
things. So she had to be, you know, kind of a good sounding board for you to talk things out and help you see things that maybe you were missing and help encourage you for things that maybe you needed some encouragement to.
Yeah, so she was very supportive and still is because I said, look, I really want to turn this coaching dial up. I said, the day job is great. And, without going to all the little details, I was like, maybe I want to leave. It's not fun. And there's a lot of business things that was going on that I just didn't want to be a part of
Sure.
anymore, all these type of things. And so I started thinking about, well, what can I do? Like, what is Bradley? I said, well, I can coach. I know
Hmm.
about track and field, and
Hmm.
and so I start turning that dial up, and then I just started coaching more athletes, and then sprint free training started, and
Hmm.
um, so yeah,
So how'd you coach more athletes? Like you go to a different school or
mhm.
and is Sprint Free a club? Tell us more about that.
So what I started doing is in Rome, I really enjoyed the fact of, like, first of all, the two athletes that I had, I took them to a lot of the summer meets and then doing stuff indoor, and they really had a great experience because they were training with me through the fall and all these different
Hmm.
things,
Hmm.
right? And I was like, I'm sure there's a lot more athletes that would benefit from getting this experience that enjoy track and field,
Right.
sprinting and all that. And I said, I want to be able to pour into that. And if we're going to do it appropriately, that requires fall training,
Hmm.
winter, all the things that we're
Yep.
familiar with, Mike. And so I wanted to have more kids. And so I wanted to spend more time doing that.
Hmm.
And so, and that's kind of how I started the sprint free stuff,
Hmm.
and started that because it was a way for me to get more athletes and give them an experience. These
Right.
these athletes that really enjoy track and field. Hey, look, this is going to help you for spring if you're training in the fall, because we know that it doesn't start in March when you start
Right.
training. It starts a lot more before then.
Right.
And so I had a real good group of athletes rough about 15 or 17 that were
How,
going to be there.
how do you find that? That's what I was wondering, so because you talk about turning the dial, you want to go from 3 to 5, because I work 8 to 3 or whatnot, but 3 to 5, March, April, May to,
Mhm.
okay, this is maybe a noon to 5 because of different groups and events
Correct.
and things like that. Call it 365 days a year at this
Yeah,
point. So
yeah.
you hang a shingle out, and that's fine. That's one thing. But how do you find these athletes?
So it's interesting. It's really organically. So the couple kids that I had, they did well. They tell a friend, and that's how I've grew the sprint free
Hmm.
uh, coaching business, if you will. And it's just really word of mouth. And then you post stuff about it.
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah,
on
social.
Instagram,
Yeah.
social media, but
Right.
like the local group has really been word of mouth.
Yeah.
Is how it's happened.
And how'd you come up with the name Sprint Free Training?
So interesting enough, there is a another running club by the name of Run Free Training, and they are owned Jay Stevenson and I can't think of the Chad Hall. They started this where it was essentially like online coaching for distance runners.
Right.
And Jay Jay Stevenson was actually a cross country coach at Shorter, so that's how we met.
Hmm.
And him and I got together, and we were like, hey, like we could do this for sprinters, right?
Cool.
And so we met, and I was like, yeah, that was great. Especially at the time I was wanting to dial up this thing. I said that'd be great and all that. And so we kind of with run free, we said sprint free just to
Yeah.
keep it simple. And that's how it really started. I started just kind of taking the reins on
Yeah.
that, and then actually legitimized, I would say, like having it as an actual business, not just,
Hmm.
hey, look, this is what I'm doing, but
Right.
all the little things to actually make it a business.
So who's running jump free training and throw free training and vault free training?
That was the idea.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I do have those domains. I actually did buy those
Yeah.
domains.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just something that he had to run free, and we decided, hey, sprint free sounds fine, and
Yeah.
kind of ran with it. So that's how it really started, the name and all that.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Mhm.
So, we talked about typically when you first get into coaching, you fall back to how you were coached, and sometimes that's perfectly fine. I mean, I try to think of someone who, was coached by a Vince Anderson and be like, man, you're pretty set. If you paid attention, you kind of know the play.
Correct.
Most of us, most of us are probably coached fairly well, not optimally, but fairly well, and typically fairly safe. Uh, but then we start adding our own thing because we learn it from somewhere, whether it's coaching education, sometimes experience, etc. What are you and maybe where does it start, or maybe not at all? Where does coaching education fit into this? And for coaching education, I'll always explain it kind of two ways. There's formal and informal. You talked about some informal training, informal coaching education, and that's calling Coach Bird,
Yeah.
Coach Black, like, and neither one's more important, by the way. Informal and formal coaching education, extremely valuable. That peer to peer, that informal, extremely valuable. Absolutely. Formal is more like our USATF level
Yeah.
ones, level twos, USTFCA coaching academy. Altus does a great job. Are you doing anything coaching education wise during this point?
I am. So when I talked about the two athletes that really kind of that really led me down this path of coaching, and I said, oh, these athletes really enjoy it, and the Lord has given me them an opportunity to shepherd them, and I want to make sure as a coach that I give them the best opportunity that they possibly can. And so I said, I need to get educated. So I went through the USATF Coaches
Hmm.
Association and started learning about sprints, hurdles, and relays.
Hmm.
And um, Vince was one of
Oh, is that right?
teachers. It was
Oh, that's
him,
cool.
Vince Anderson, and I think it Tommy Bowden, the
Tommy Badon. Yeah.
Thibodeau. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was.
Yeah.
They were the two leading
Hmm.
the very first coaching education that I went through.
Yep. Head coach of Louisiana.
That's correct.
Yep.
And it was like mind blowing.
Yeah.
And
Now, what do you mean mind blowing? This is interesting because coaching education changed my life. Like not only coaching, but
Yeah.
the rest of my life with my mentor Boo Schexnayder. What when you say it was mind blowing because you have a pretty good. I know Scott well, and I know Coach
Yeah.
Black well. You know they're very good coach. Like I
Hmm.
would tell you whatever they're doing, they were doing it right. You know things like
Correct.
that. Uh, what was it? What was mind blowing? Was it like I remember when I did jumps level two with Boo. I remember what was mind blowing. That's probably how I would have described it. Was not so much that I learned some new things. I certainly did, no questions asked. But I learned that I was doing a lot of things correctly, just not in the right order. And I
Correct.
literally went home, continued doing a lot of the same things I would do with some tweaks that I learned, but changed order, of it. And I mean, huge. Like the kids I coached my first 5 years drastically different the second 5 years that I coach. I mean, like way better. So I would say that was mind blowing. Like, oh, the concept that I was actually doing some things right, wrong order, was mind blowing
Correct.
to me. What about you? Because you have a pretty good foundation at this point.
It was very similar. It was just the sequencing. And when they were talking about it and about just like how you place certain things, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that makes sense.
Right.
And as sprinters and speed and all these different things, I said, okay, I'm gonna do that. And it really like changed the way how I
Mm-hmm.
approached
Mm-hmm.
my coaching and the systems.
Right.
And it was just a matter of placement.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I went through there, I was like, oh my goodness, I've learned so much. And I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to try these
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
things. And
Yeah.
and and so that was the first coach going through like formal coaching that I went through.
Yeah.
And then every year I do one just to kind of stay up to date on all the different things. And then I went to Altus
Yeah.
because
How'd you find out about Altus?
so I really enjoy learning a lot. And so I was like, okay, I went through the Coaches Association, and then I think I may have been on the internet or
Mm-hmm.
something,
Mm-hmm.
and Stu and Dan Pfaff had popped up somewhere. And I said, oh, this is really neat. I said,
Mm-hmm.
Altus, they work with professional athletes, Olympic athletes, blah, 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 blah. We know their track record.
Mm-hmm.
And I called Coach Black.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, hey, do you know about Altus? He's like, yeah, I know about it. So I said, hey, I'm really thinking about, going through that. I went through the Coast Association and I found this, and I think this will be a really good next level.
Right.
And what do you think about it? And he said, you should go because he was saying that you will learn a lot just from a different perspective.
Right.
And he said I should go.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, cool. And so I did the coach's apprentice program where you there for
Yeah.
4 days.
Yeah. What was that in Phoenix or Atlanta?
It was in Atlanta.
Yeah, I was like, because they moved to Atlanta for a little while. So
Correct.
Andreas Bain, so you probably met Andreas,
Yes.
Guild podcast alum, by the way, love him, and Stu, who's fantastic. And they had just, in fact, they're just moving back to Phoenix, like
Are they?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they're kind of there. They just bought. I don't know if I'm allowed to say, so I won't say.
Don't say it.
But yeah, I just had a conversation with him, and he told me some exciting things are happening. I love that for them because their passion for coaching and coaching education is outstanding. So I love what they're doing and the way they do it and why they do it. So, but you get to hang out with Andreas, dude. He's so cool. I
He's
love
so
him.
cool. I
Mhm.
learned a lot from him as well. And so I was there, and kind of a side note, and I'll go back to Altus because I think it's important to land
Mhm.
there,
Mhm.
is so Dan Path actually coached my mother-in-law when he was at LSU.
Really?
And so, yes, um,
Wow.
so my mother-in-law, Krista Schumann Aldana, she is from
Okay.
Guatemala,
Okay.
and she came to the States to go run at LSU, and Dan Path and Lauren Seagrave were the coach.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember kind of telling them, hey, I sent a picture that, hey, I'm, with Dan Paff and all these people learning about, sprinting. And she said, oh my goodness, Dan, yeah, he coached me all these years.
You
Oh,
didn't know?
I didn't know. And so we're at
You
this.
need to talk to your mother-in-law more that you didn't
Yeah,
know
I didn't
that.
know. I didn't really know all of that. And
Wow.
so anyway, anyway, long story, Krista had a great career. She was she went to the Olympics and Guatemala. That she's amazing.
Awesome.
And so I went up to Dan. I said, "Hey, I said, I think you coached my mother-in-law, Krista Schumann." He was like, "Yeah, she was from Guatemala, right? All these years, Mike."
Right.
And
Yeah, that's Dan. He's got a steel trap up there,
he's
buddy.
still got it trapped in there.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so we showed pictures, and then Krista showed me all the little yearbooks from when Lauren Seagrave and Dan Pfaff were together, and
Yeah.
all these different
That's
things.
so cool.
And so anyway, that's a side note. And so me and Dan had a really good connection there.
Good.
But I enjoyed those 4 days at Altus because
Yeah.
I learned a lot. And then that's when Matthew Davis and I connected.
Dude, so first of all, Dan Paff, also Gill Podcast alum,
Yeah.
highly suggest you go back and listen to him. And Matthew Davis, now wait a minute, Matthew Davis, and you got to forgive me, 300 plus episodes. The memory's not as good as it may. I'm not a steel trap like Dan is, but Matthew was, he's from the Pennsylvania because I ran into him at Penn Relays one year. He's from
Yep.
Pennsylvania.
Correct.
So he's down in Atlanta for the ACP as
Correct.
well. Okay.
And so
Yeah, well, tell me more about. So you guys got connected together, huh?
yeah,
He's kind of a nerd, and I say that in a good way. Like
it's
he's
okay.
got some cool.
You can say that. He
Yeah,
knows it.
remember when we were young, and you are young. Nerd was a bad thing, right? You get called a nerd. That was
Mhm.
Now it's like, man, I love when people are nerds. I love when people call me a nerd about podcasting or track or whatever. Like that's
Oh
a
yeah,
compliment.
he's a
He's a
nerd.
nerd on
He's definitely a nerd. I'll say
this
it to him.
app that he's doing and stuff. I like him, and I like his stuff on Twitter. He's a good follow as well.
So we met and we connected a little bit there. And then maybe 6 to 8 months later, that's when he shared that he was working on this track motion
Mm-hmm.
app. And when I saw it, I was like, man, this is really neat.
Right.
And so I DM'd him in X. I was
Yeah.
like, "Hey, bro, do you remember me back from the Altus and all that?" He said, "Oh yeah, yeah." And I said, "Dude, I like what you've done. I've tested it out." I said, "I think we could create a company around this."
Wow.
And so he was like, "Really?" I'm like, yes.
I love the serial entrepreneur and the app
Yeah,
nerd.
yeah.
Like, wait a minute, really? We have peanut butter and jelly? Wait, we.
Correct. And so I was like, dude, I said, I think you have something here. And I think with us working together, we could really do something. So I flew up to PA and met with him. I was like, hey, look,
Oh,
I'm gonna
serious?
clean my schedule out. And I said, I just want to talk to you, get to know me, but I know you only spent a few days with me and
Hmm.
let's get together. So we spent a weekend together and anyway, long story short, we got together and I said, dude, I like this. And so I said, I really think there's what you've built, we can develop it more
Hmm.
and actually have a sprint coach in your pocket.
Hmm.
And so anyway,
I love that term, by the way. Yeah.
and so we got together and we took what he had and now we've created Remotion, which is a
Mm,
sprint coach in your pocket that
right.
we're working on and we've got a beta going on. And so that's
Yeah.
how we got connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it wasn't an initial like at ACP like, oh, this is my guy. Sometimes you just
Yeah.
people you just connect with. It's like, man, I don't even know how, but we're the same people, dude. We just hang out, right? It was a little bit later, and you saw him from. See, we love to talk about the negative of social media, and there's certainly
Mhm.
negatives,
Yes.
but there's negatives in everything. Like they it has gone through the dawn of time. Every new thing that has been created has been touted as the end of society, right?
Correct.
Like when when the Gutenberg press came out, more people could read. That was going to be in society because now information can flow freely and not just
Correct.
to the highly educated, the rich people is who it was
Mhm.
back then that could read, right? That was going to be the downfall of society. And then radio came along. That was going to be the downfall of society. Young kids are just going to listen to the radio and not want to work. right? And then TV came out. Oh, we're all going to become zombies. It's the end of the world. Terrible. And look at the stuff that they put on there, violence and sex and all this kind of stuff, right? And then the internet, of course, you're now we're in your age where you understand, like, oh, I remember the
Correct.
internet. People tell me the internet was terrible and it's going to, all of us young people are going to do terrible things because of the internet. And then smartphones came out.
Phones.
Oh, but we're back to being zombies. And then social media came out, and everything has been touted as, now VR and Bitcoin and stuff like that is
Bitcoin, yeah.
all going to be, the GPTs, AI is going to
Correct.
be the end of the world, all this kind of stuff. Um, Here is a great example of the positivity, specifically of social media here,
Correct.
that if social media is not around, I don't know that you two connect,
We don't.
or
We
at
don't.
least it's much, much harder.
It's much, much harder because like I already had, like these ideas of like, how as a coach, how can I provide value to someone that like is not in front of me?
Hmm. Hmm.
Coaches have a lot of different responsibilities. Sometimes coaches can be there, but on the flip side, what about the athlete who doesn't have access to
Which is a
proper
lot,
training
a lot.
or a lot, right? And so when I saw what he was already doing, I'd already been like thinking about like how to, and then when I saw it, I was like, oh my goodness. Like, like I don't know if he knew he was onto something, but he's definitely on the path.
Yeah.
And so I mean, we met together and now we're at a place where the sprint coach in your pocket,
That's so
we're
cool.
guided and we've done some teasers. He's posted some stuff on it, but
Right.
we're hoping that in January it'll be in the App Store
Yeah.
and it's something that we spend a lot of time working on and with the science and all that. And he's really good at that. I want to give him a lot of props
Yeah.
because he understands like how it needs to look from the science perspective and the
Hmm.
angles and the math. And we're really excited about having that for athletes, coaches, and
Hmm.
parents that just don't have access
I
to
think
those
that's so
things.
valuable because it's easy for us to say, in today in 2025, 2026, man, there's no excuse that you don't know how to coach, right? YouTube,
Mhm.
Altus, USTFCA, USATF, etc. Clinics, like I said, I just emceed two clinics that had amazing, Vince Anderson and Brenton Man. I mean, just amazing, amazing people speaking, right? So there's no excuse. However, we forget that most of our high school coaches are high school teachers. They're
Cheers.
teaching, I'm going to liberally say 8 to 3. You don't start at 8, you start at 6. And
6, yeah.
if you have families and there's grading and all this kind of stuff, right? I love one of my favorite things to do. It sounds a little belittling, but it's actually not. There's actually a lot of props for people who do this. Do you know what Reddit is? Do you know Reddit?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
do. Mhm.
yeah. Do you ever go on Reddit?
I haven't, no, not
Yeah.
recently, no.
So, but Reddit, it's so Reddit's Reddit, and then it has all these subreddits. Basically, it's message boards. Back in the
Message
day,
board.
everything old is new again. It's just a message board, right? And they have all the message boards of everything in the world. There's message boards about cats. There's message boards about podcasts. There's message boards about Nike. Everything, right? And so there's track and field. There's track and field. There's sprinting. There's hurdles, and people go on there and discuss many, many different things. It's the internet, so many, many different things, right? But not uncommon. A coach, both high school and college, by the way, and middle school and club, they'll get on there and they'll ask a question to the body, to people who are in
Hmm.
that subreddit, something coaching esque, right? How do I get a kid to 3 step, or how do I help transition a kid from a 12 pound to a 16 pound shot put, things like that. But there'll be a lot of questions that, as a guy who, coached at a pretty high level for 10 years and now is, involved with guys like you and, high level, every event, sprints, jumps, hurdles, etc. It's a little like, why would you ask that? Like,
That,
it's
yeah,
common sense, right? Like the
yeah,
left foot goes in front of the right foot type of
yeah.
thing, right? But what it shows, first of all, I don't belittle those people because I'm like, well, at least they had the humility to ask.
Ask.
There's plenty of
Mhm.
people who don't know this stuff and don't ask. Those are the ones you got to have a little, judgment to. But the ones at least are asking are trying to get better. But my point is, there are people who don't know these things.
Who don't know these things.
And a
Yeah.
lot of times we get into this again, this 1%, like, oh, how do I take this, 1060 kid down to 1040? It's like, man, this guy's he's trying to coach 10-second 60-meter guys. He don't even know how to do block. He isn't even using blocks. He don't even know what the heck to do,
Correct.
right? The
Correct.
basics are so important. And I think having apps like this helps. it's a part of the puzzle. It's not the answer
The
because there's a
correct,
lot of different moving parts here, but it's an answer, a part of the solution to help that guy in, from Alabama, rural Alabama, who just has no idea. My high school coach had no idea. It was pre-internet basically, so
correct.
no clue. But that person would have benefited. Like, all right, I got some sprinters. What's this app telling me to do? Oh, and I can just film them and it'll put things in motion for me and show me. That's so valuable
Yeah, it's
and important.
and that's what we were, because we always, something that when Matthew and I meet, we always like, we want to be able to provide value, to someone who doesn't have access. And
Right.
how can you do that with, an app, or at least get them somewhere, have an idea. Okay, this is where I'm at. This is where I should be, the recommendations and things of that nature.
Right.
So anyway, we're excited about that. But
Yeah.
so that's how him and I got together, and
I love that. Well, he's a
it's
good
really,
dude, and
you know,
knowing that he's hooked up with another good dude is really important. You said hopefully by January of 26 we'll be in the App Store.
end of January is our timetable.
End of January.
End
Okay.
of January is our timetable. So we've got the beta, and we've got some beta testers testing it now. So we're gearing up for I would say a launch. And so there's a lot of other moving
Yeah,
pieces.
right, 100%. Yeah. Okay, so when you're listening to this, at the earliest you're listening to this, it's the end of December. But the thing I love about podcast, it's evergreen content, meaning like our first episode, which was 6+ years ago now, still gets people listening to it, right? So it may be 2030 right now, and you're listening to it. But if you're listening to this in December or January, or even February of 2026. If you're in February, go look to see if it's on the App Store. Check your phone. If you're in December or January, put on your calendar. Always give grace, right? So I'm gonna say the middle of February, in February, put in
Yeah,
your calendar to go check it out because you owe it to yourself to at least look at a tool to see if it fits into your program. It's not going to fit in everybody's program. What they're doing
no.
is not going to be for 100% people, and they know that. But it's going to be for some people, and you won't know if it's for you if you don't go experiment. Have some curiosity and go check out the app. What are you going to name it? Remotion?
Remotion. See, that's good that you remember.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, 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 yeah. I knew that was a test. Yeah, yeah. Because if you don't have a memorable name, you're in trouble. And spelled just like it sounds. So RE and then motion.
Correct.
Yeah, I love that. That's very cool. All right, go check that out. I love that for you guys, and I love that for the coaching body. Okay, so today in 2025, are you coaching any high school, or is this all in the club model at this point?
So in the spring, it will be high school, as I still do at Unity Christian School. And then
Oh,
outside,
you're still
I
there.
still do it.
Oh,
Yes.
that's cool.
So I
I
still
love
do it
that.
in the spring for a few months for them,
Hmm.
just because I love that school, and they've they've served and given me so much. So
Yeah.
in the spring is for high school, and then outside of after the spring season, summer and fall, that's all club stuff.
Cool. All right. So, in my role where I sit as a track coach advocate, kind of like I talked about with that conversation about responding to emails, that we started on Twitter last night. My role is to help people get out of your box. I'm not a coach anymore. It's 20 years, over
Wow.
half your life I have
Yes.
not coached. Uh, but I did coach. I coached a couple years high school. Most of it was in college. I coached in the SEC. I coached some guys who went on to the Olympics, SEC champions, et cetera, et cetera. So I coached at high level. But I was in a box, just like you're in the box. I'm in a sales box for sure. Like I have to work hard to get outside of sales to make sure we're
Hmm.
doing things right. But I'm not in the coaching box. But I talk and see and interact with you 24 hours a day. This is what I do, right? So I feel I take it on the responsibility to start conversations that people aren't necessarily having
Okay.
publicly. They hold it in their heart
Hmm.
or their mind and just have anger about it. And that's not good, right? I,
Sure.
I want to help continue to move the profession forward, right? And there's many aspects to our profession. There's high school coaches, there's college coaches, there's pro coaches, there's summer coaches, middle school, club,
Hmm.
etc. And across America, I haven't heard this too much in Georgia, but I just doubt that it's not happening in Georgia
I'm
because it's
sure it
happening
is.
in
Right.
other states. You know where I'm going.
I know.
The tension between our club coaches and our high school coaches.
Hmm.
Uh, there's many egos involved, and
Sure.
egos aren't necessarily bad. Ego helps us to want to dress better, to get better education, to be better and do better. Bad ego is bad. When it
Correct.
becomes more about me, when it becomes stepping on other people so that I can get better, that's bad ego, and that's what we're trying to abolish here. What has been your experience? Let's start on the high school side. What has been your experience with other high school? Because you're coaching other high school's kids
I am.
up to a point. Hopefully, we'll see. What has been your experience as a club coach as it relates to relationships with other high school coaches?
I love this question. In in my experience, it's been a good one because I think there has to be a level of humility that comes with this. And so as a high school coach and a club coach, I have humility going into like, all right, this athlete is going to be with, me for the summer and all these different things. Their high school coach that they have made may have a different philosophy. And and sometimes, and we've had it, the athlete comes back and say, well, coach does this, but I know that's not right, according to you. So what should I do? Right. How I respond to that is, look, he or she is your coach. All right. And try to give them wisdom on how to handle that. Because I don't want any athlete that comes sees me saying I'm bad mouthing another coach. Right. At the end of the day, we're coaching these athletes and we want to help them improve. At least that should be the goal,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Not to tower my.
Bro, do you know how many times I hear a coach say, and every coach would agree with this, "Hey, do you do it for the kids?" Oh, yeah, I do it for the kids, right? We're so humble with it, even with money. We go, "Oh, I don't do it for the money. I do it for the kids," and I love that attitude. But first of all, on that tangent, you should be doing it for the money. You have a mortgage payment and
Sure.
passions and charities, etc. You should be getting
Mhm.
paid more. Don't do that. But we'll say we're doing it for the kids, and then we'll do an action that is absolutely not for the kids. And I'm like, wait a minute, I thought we were doing this for the kids here.
Exactly. And so my approach to that is I say, hey, look, listen, you're doing well, keep trusting the process and all these different things. And so I've I felt like I built a really good relationship with the local coaches here in town that I have. And funny enough, like one of the coaches, he knows that I train them and he has even moved like, so we'll go to the high school Clemson meet at the January 12th. And he said, look, I know you have majority of part of my track and field kids that are coming to see you, but we're going to start practice when they come back. Right. And I truly believe the only reason he would say is because how I've in our relationship and how I've
Mhm.
treated him. I'm
Right,
not bad mouthing him.
right,
I'm not just saying, oh, I'm doing it for the kids, but I'm, chucking at him. That's
right,
not. And
right.
so I
Uh, uh,
think it just
okay,
go
so
ahead.
let me kick. I think of three scenarios then.
Mhm.
I feel like we have enough rapport and trust that you're going to be able to give me some honest answers there because that's great. I think what you're saying is perfect, spot on, very PC. It's great. It's great. Now let's talk about real world. So let's think about a couple examples here and how would you react to it, or maybe how have you reacted? Because these are very plausible. You know how I know they're plausible? These are conversations I'm having every day. Okay,
Mhm.
athlete comes to you and says, "Hey, coach." My high school coach, we're talking about a 100-meter sprinter here. My
Mhm.
high school coach is having us run 400 repeats every day. And, coach, I've been with you for a while. I know that doesn't seem right. You certainly don't. Oh, I hope you don't anyway.
Yeah.
I want to just not train with my high school coach and just train with you, but I still want to compete for my high school because that's my boys, that's my girls, etc. Coach, what do I do?
That's your coach. Like I mean, if especially in the spring season, like I mean, I'm already coaching high school kids and they come, I say, hey, look, I mean, that's in the spring season. I mean, there's not much that I can really do for you.
Hmm.
That's just the honest truth.
Hmm.
I get you
Are
nine.
you are you calling high school coach?
Am I calling high school coach?
Yeah, hey, coach, just want to talk to you. Cindy tells me you're doing 400-meter repeats, and
No,
I want to
I
tell you you're
don't.
wrong. Okay. All right.
No, I don't
Okay.
because it's not my place.
Okay.
As I think that's, at least for me, it's like he or she is the coach and they have this athlete for a period of time.
Mhm.
And so how do I teach athletes to understand that there is a, I want to say a chain, not a chain of command, but that just seems the best word that I can
Mhm.
gather,
Mhm.
is that I'm not calling coach to say, hey, look, oh, Sydney, man, she doesn't need those 400. She needs this because this is pre-comp period. This is
Right, right,
comp
right, right.
period.
Yeah.
This is probably what she should do 8 days before so you can peak her. That's
Mhm.
that conversation I'm not calling because
Okay.
he or she is the coach.
Yeah. Okay.
And I have to respect that. I think there's a lot of humility that must have to happen.
Yeah.
And frankly, in the track and field space, as you know, it sometimes just doesn't, people got opinions and things of that
That's
nature.
that's right. Remember,
And
they coach typically how they were coached. That's
yeah,
probably how they were coached. Yeah. Okay.
and
And that's not unsafe, right?
yeah,
It's not optimal for training,
yeah.
but doing front of me repeats, you're gonna live. You're gonna feel
You're
like
gonna live.
you're gonna
You'll
die, but
live.
you'll live. Okay.
These kids are they're not, I don't want to say fragile, but they can be resilient.
They're resilient, absolutely. So, okay. So, Sydney, I like this must be an athlete or a former athlete because you use Sydney as the name. Sydney comes to you and says, "Hey, coach, our new track coach is having us do. I'm trying to think of something unsafe. Depth jumps every day at 42 inches.
Mm,
After we lifted, by the
mm,
way.
okay.
And after we did quarter repeats, I'm trying to think of something unsafe, right? That's what I'm trying to get to. So
Mhm.
they described to you, hey, my high school coach is doing this, and I'm just trashed. I can barely run. I just want to quit and just come to you. What do you do?
Well, if she is, I would say, well, have you talked to, like, what are the other athletes saying? What other coaches? What other coaches are there? If you're trashed or you're hurting, have you talked to the trainers? What are the trainers saying?
Hmm.
You start asking more. I start asking more questions.
Hmm.
Because maybe that's not the same for all the different athletes.
Hmm.
She says they did this, they did this. Well, what did the other 30 athletes? What are they saying? Or is
Right.
it just you? So
Yeah.
I tend to ask more questions
Hmm.
because as I continue to say it, like when we're in that period of when I don't have the athlete and they want to complain, like how
Hmm.
do I, well, what are the other athletes saying?
You're trying to balance. I'm hearing you say I'm trying to balance what is unsafe versus
Mhm.
what is, you are dealing with 14, 18-year-old kids. Let's be
Correct.
real here. Are they singling you out, or is this what they're doing with everybody? And how is it really 42s, and is it really every
Is it
day?
really every
Yeah, okay.
day?
I love that.
And
Uh,
so I think you ask more questions.
yeah, love
Like
that.
when I have an athlete that I've been working with for 9 months and they have this, okay, well, what is everyone else saying? What's the trainer saying? Because I'm sure if you're feeling bad, have you seen the trainer? What is other coaches saying? And you
Right.
try to use wisdom on how you piece the information together
Yeah.
to really see.
Okay. You ready for this one?
I am. Come on, come on, come
all,
on, come
all,
on.
all those
I like
situ-
this.
all those situations are real life, and this third one as well. Okay. Our mythical athlete Sydney, when she's with you, you see her sprint prowess, and that she's a like I won't say world class because that's 1070 Melissa Jefferson world, but she's high level Division 1, like 11
Mhm.
flattish. You can tell
Correct.
from her testing and things like that. The high school coach sees her more as a 400-meter runner, and she's
Okay.
very good at the 400, by the way. Like
Mhm.
no, I mean, if someone's running 11 flat, you're probably running 52, 53, or whatever
Correct.
their equivalent was. And so doesn't runs her in the relays and stuff, 4x1s, but doesn't have her do the 1 and 2. She's 400, 4x4, 4x1, and maybe she jumps or something like that.
Mhm.
And you think that's possibly um, hurting her recruiting,
Mm.
and not unsafe. No one's doing anything
Okay.
unsafe here, but you both have a different philosophy of where this athlete should focus on. And you're probably both right, by the way, because she
Mhm.
is a stud, right? But you really think like, man, hey, this person actually. This could be an NCAA Division 1 national champ, which means she has a chance of going pro.
Sure.
How do you handle that situation?
I would answer it very simple. A college coach can back into the numbers. If she's running the 400 and she's running 52, they can do the math of what her 200 is, the 100. So it actually wouldn't be doing her.
It's
I
a great
I
point.
I wouldn't say she should be doing that. Well, the fast is fast. If she can run the 452, I know what she can do in the
That's a
200.
great
I
point.
know what she's going to do in the 100.
You're not actually holding back her recruiting because it's not like someone's going to go, oh, 52. Well, man, if she was 11 flat, I'd recruit her. It's like, bro, if she's 52.
Bro, any legit college track and field
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
coach
yeah.
will look at that and say, "Oh, she's strong. She
Yeah.
can do the four. She's doing that. This is not hurting
Yeah,
her."
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
That's a good point.
that's yeah. I think that's what I think high school coach, club coach. Like when I see a lot of high school kids, I'm thinking like a college coach.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like that in that scenario, that's not gonna hurt. That's actually gonna make her more valuable. Oh,
Yeah,
she can run the open four, the
yeah,
2-1, 4x4s,
yeah, yeah.
about those things.
Right, 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 right. Yeah, that's a good point.
And
That's a good point. I
so
love that.
that's how I will respond to that. No, keep running it.
You know, I wish there were some high school coaches that had your attitude. I wish there were other club coaches that had your attitude. At least on point, like, I always tell people, it's like, I don't do any uh, background checks. Meaning, I don't know.
Yeah.
Bradley right now might be giving us a load of it. I don't know. Who knows though? Are the people that are around him, right?
Yeah.
But here's the other thing. This is what's really interesting about the podcast because of its reach, is if someone's BSing. First of
You'll
all,
know.
no one's forced to be here,
No.
right? So he's putting himself out there, and either he's telling truth or not telling truth. It will come to light because of social media. Someone's going to come on
Correct.
there and be like, "Whoa, this Bradley dude, let me tell you what he really did." Blah 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 blah. Or
Correct.
because you're more incentivized to tell the truth, he's telling the truth. So I really do appreciate that. Bradley, what we got to start wrapping up here in a
Yeah.
second. What's the you're so young. Do you think you're old? I wonder if, like, when I was young, what I mean.
I love
Thousand,
it. Keep going, Mike.
a
Just
thousand.
just keep fall. Just go ahead and fall off the cliff. You
Yeah, yeah,
are
you know
already at
exactly
the
where I'm
edge.
at.
Just fall
Yeah,
off.
yeah,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
I have 1,000 questions all in one question. Yeah. So when I was younger, I remember as a 17, 18-year-old kid thinking like 30-year-olds, like, dude, you're 1 foot in the grave. And now I'm, half a year away from being 50, and I'm like, I feel pretty good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Clap that I made it this long. Yeah, that's all. There's no accomplishment. I didn't have a heart attack yet. Uh, but I wonder, but now I look as a 50-year-old and I see a 34-year-old. I'm like, oh my God, you're so young. Like I was 4 years into my career at Gill at this point. That's a pup. 16 more years have gone by. Uh, what's the not what's the end game? Because I don't think it's fair, especially for a 34-year-old, because you don't know. What are you gearing towards? Are you wanting to, do you see yourself going into college coaching? Do you want to take this club sprint free training model and blow it up? Do you want to coach nothing but high schoolers? Do you want to go back and become an athletic administrator? What are you thinking as you continue to develop in your career?
Oh man, I love this question. Um, I think more in game. I would consider it in game is I there's a couple of things I want to do. I want to keep coaching. I really like high school athletes. I think those are those formative years
Yeah, it's fun.
where we can shine light and give them encouragement and hope and track and field teaches so much about life as we know. I truly would love to continue to coach, do that full time, but also blow up this Remotion application, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And hopefully, we exit and I can just coach and then go into ministry full time. That's the end game.
Yeah, is that right?
That's the end game. So when you
Love it.
ask me that question, I share with my wife, like I really feel like the Lord has called me to coach and do Remotion. And he's like, Lord willing, we blow this up, it exits and all these different things that we as entrepreneurs aspire, and hope and dream to do.
Right.
I said, I want to go into ministry.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the end game. If I can, if the Lord has given me these things and he blesses it and moves it, then I will coach high school kids and I will be in ministry. And that is
Yeah,
the end game for me, Mike,
that's cool.
is to serve. And that's what track and field has been for me.
Yeah,
And so that's the end game.
I love it. That's the beginning game. I love that.
Yeah.
All right, here's my challenges to you. I already gave you one.
You already gave
Find
me one, Coach Foster. I got to
Find
reach out.
coach, yeah, find him and just say thank you. And again, so many blessings have gone your way, and you therefore have become a blessing to a lot of other people.
Hmm.
We stand as people in general, but as track coaches, we stand on the shoulders of giants.
Hmm.
The high school coach that saw something in you and said you should run track, man. Like that started something. It would seem like a very innocuous thing. Meaning
Correct.
like a high school kid doing track. That's great. Only 7% actually go on to NCAA track, so it's not like they thought that could be the possibility. It's like, oh, you're fast. Go over there and try that. And look what that has done, right? So you stand on
Mhm.
that person's shoulder. You stand on Coach Bird and Coach Black's shoulder of what they taught you coaching. You stand on Stu and Andreas and Dan Pfaff. They
Yeah,
taught you a
yeah.
lot of things, right? And so for that Gardner Webb coach, it's good for him to see, because sometimes we forget about that, and
Mhm.
we're in our immediate bubble, what's going on right now, and we forget, oh man, I'm impacting kids. That coach needs to know that he is impacting kids even though he's not coaching them. It's
Mhm.
easier, not easy, easier to see the kids that I right in front of me, how I
Mhm.
impact them, but to see the
Correct.
kids that I recruited and how I treated them and what suggestions I gave them, how I impacted them is much, much harder. And he needs to see that his impact, his positive impact on young people is much, much larger.
Mhm.
So that was one. Two, I'm going to encourage you specifically for the Remotion app, because I know you, and I know Matt Davis very pretty well as well. Love what you're doing. I want to bless that. Is think about doing some of these Gill 1918 project
Okay.
podcasts. I think it'd be interesting because you can do more than one. There's like 200 and something days outside of the 52 connections podcast, right? So I need as much content as possible, so you can do
Okay.
multiple. It might be interesting to see, pre-launch, like, hey, here's something that's coming online by, say, February into January. Here's what we're working on. Here's why. That's kind of a podcast. Again, TED Talks of track and field, right? And then once you launch, of course, hey, there could be something
Okay.
about launching. How do you use it? What are best practices? I would also encourage you to be, even though you don't necessarily have the app today or tomorrow, there's track clinics. There's a great one, we talked about earlier about the one in Georgia. They do a great job there. There's talks that you can give around how to use technology in your sprint training.
Okay.
Here's some things that we're thinking about in the Remotion app that would be able to help a high school coach or a college coach, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
And then, kind of in a different spin, I see just a lot of unification with you, bringing people together and in positive manners. Think about in your area, Rome and its surrounding area, of doing some kind of clinic.
Okay.
Not camps. You may also
Yeah.
do camps like with kids and stuff, but like some kind of even if you get to people, there's been some amazing relationships built in this profession for people who just got people together at their house. Like,
Mhm.
hey, coach X, Y, and Z, come over, bring lunch, or we'll order in, and let's just talk sprinting for a few hours. One of my favorite people. Do you know? 'Cause you're on social, so maybe you know Mike J up in Iowa. Is that name? Mike J is he's not a track coach. I don't even know if he's been a track coach, but he's the voice of Iowa track and field. So
Okay.
he announces the Drake relays. He's
Okay.
also announced uh, um, the NCAA championships, stuff like that.
Okay.
But he's a big Iowa track guy. The Track Guy Foundation, he gives shoes to kids who need it, things like that. But
Okay.
he does in the fall. He goes, he organizes these around cross country coaches. They meet in the driveway. They have these driveway summits, if you will. They
Oh,
all
wow.
just get in their driveway. They all bring their chairs and they
Mhm.
talk about how do you have train an 800-meter runner who's running cross country this year? How do you
Mhm.
train girls the first time like very grassroots? I see that in you in that
Mhm.
area with you, maybe more of your forte. Maybe don't do cross country, but doing sprint training like that. Just very informal. That sometimes we think we have to do these grandiose things. In reality, you can go to someone's driveway with chairs and a couple of drinks and really create fellowship
Correct.
and knowledge setting. So I
Mhm.
challenge you on that.
Okay.
Bradley, other than that, man, we got to go. This is the end of it. You're awesome. Thank you so much. I love, love, love your journey. And what's cool to me is, using like a 400-meter analogy, you're barely in the blocks. I know as a 30 something year old man, you could think like, oh, I'm getting close to the end. I passed the 200-meter mark, Mike. bro, you're not even at the 100-meter mark. You have so many more years to coach, so many more years to influence other people in a positive manner, young people and coaches. This is where I see, that it's easy to talk about, easier to see the athlete side of it, but I think you could be a bigger influencer on coaches, other men and women who choose this profession, and then that'll give you a bigger platform. You'll affect way more kids
Sure.
that way than just the kids that you coach, and that's going to be a lot in its own. So just really pumped to be on the sidelines and watch it happen, man. It's really exciting for me, and I think it's going to be something very promising for you, your wife, your family. It's you stand on the giants of your mom and dad too, by the way. But I think with great examples you have, you're going to continue and build great examples for others.
Mike, I received that. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you for
Absolutely. Absolutely. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Short outro. Love you guys to death. Make sure you join us next week. If you're interested in doing a Gil 1918 project, hit me up on Twitter, DM, text. All that stuff's in the show notes below. And we'll see you next week. We'll do it all over again. All right. Thanks, guys.